The forest behind the Parker family's cabin stretched for miles in every direction, thick pines rising like dark pillars, quiet enough that you could hear your own heartbeat if you listened long enough. It was the kind of place where sound gets swallowed, where sunlight struggles to reach the ground, and where people who grew up nearby learned early to never wander too far.
Ever wondered where you really come from? Not the stories, but the science. On this channel, we decode real DNA, uncover lost ancestries, and bring ancient genomes to life through cinematic storytelling. If that excites you, subscribe for weekly insights. Like the video to support science-based history, and drop a comment. Your questions help guide what we explore next.
8-year-old Liam Parker knew those rules. His parents repeated them constantly. Stay close, don't go past the creek. If you hear something strange, come home. But on that warm June afternoon, the rules didn't matter. Liam had been playing in the backyard, kicking a faded red soccer ball around while his mom prepped dinner inside and his dad tinkered with the old generator in the garage. They weren't worried. Liam wasn't the type to run off, and the yard was fenced with tall posts. It felt safe, predictable. At least, it used to. His mom stepped inside for a moment to grab the laundry basket. She swears she was gone for no more than 40 seconds. His dad insists he had eyes on the yard every few minutes. And yet, when she came back outside and called Liam's name, there was nothing. Just the ball rolling gently toward the fence as if someone had nudged it. No footsteps, no sound, no sign of struggle. Just silence, so heavy it felt unnatural. At first, they thought he was hiding. Liam loved hide and seek, even when no one offered to play. His mom called out again, expecting him to pop out from behind the old tree stump or the shed with a grin. But nothing happened. Not a giggle, not a rustle. Minutes started stacking, 5, then 10, then 20, and the easygoing search turned into a frantic one. His dad tore through the yard, checking every corner, even the places Liam would never fit. His mom ran to the neighbors. The neighbors joined the search. They combed through the thin tree line just beyond the fence, calling until their voices strained. Still, nothing. It was as if the boy had vanished into thin air. By the time the sheriff's department arrived, the sun was dipping low. The air had that strange, cold bite that only deep woods seemed to hold on to, even in summer. Officers spread out quickly, marking grids, calling for search dogs, urging the family to stay calm. But calm was impossible now. The dogs picked up Liam's scent immediately from his jacket near the porch. Their noses went to work, pulling handlers across the yard, past the fence, straight toward the creek. Everyone followed with a flicker of hope that maybe he had wandered farther than expected. But then, something strange happened. The dogs stopped, every single one of them. Ears forward, bodies still, tails lowered. Handlers urged them to continue, but the animals backed up, whining, confused. The scent trail just ended, as if Liam had walked to that very spot and disappeared. The lead handler shook his head. "That's not normal," he muttered. "It's like he never left the yard." Helicopters were brought in next, their searchlights cutting through the trees. Infrared cameras scanned for body heat, but the night swallowed everything they offered. No movement, no warm outline, no trace of an 8-year-old boy who should have been easy to spot. The sheriff ordered teams to widen the search radius. Volunteers poured in from nearby towns. Flashlights bobbed through the forest all night long. Voices echoed, radios crackled. The creek was checked, then checked again. A nearby ravine, a cluster of abandoned hunting cabins. Nothing, nothing, nothing. By sunrise, the mood had shifted from urgent to grim. The terrain was unforgiving, full of drop-offs and dense brush. A child out there alone? The odds weren't good. But what bothered the sheriff most, the thing he kept returning to, was how abruptly the trail ended. No signs of an animal chase, no drag marks, no struggle, no footprints that made sense. Just a missing boy, a half-warm soccer ball, and a patch of trampled grass. As the second day began, something unspoken started creeping into the search team's conversations. A quiet fear, a question no one wanted to voice out loud. How does a child vanish in a matter of seconds without leaving a single trace? Nobody had an answer. Yet. Day 2 began with a thin layer of fog clinging to the treetops, the kind that makes everything feel closer and farther away at the same time. The search teams were exhausted but determined. Nobody wanted to say it out loud, but everyone knew the truth. If Liam wasn't found soon, the chances of bringing him home alive dropped fast.
His parents hadn't slept, not even for a minute. His mom sat wrapped in a blanket on the back porch, staring at the forest as if willing her son to walk out of it. His dad paced the driveway until his legs gave out. Every noise made them jump. Every shout from the woods made their stomachs twist with hope and dread. More volunteers arrived with fresh energy. The sheriff expanded the search area another 2 miles. Drones buzzed overhead. Teams formed human chains that stretched across steep slopes and brush so thick you had to fight your way through it. But the forest wasn't giving anything up. Some volunteers whispered that the woods felt wrong that morning. Too still, too quiet. Even the birds seemed to be keeping their distance. Superstition wasn't uncommon out there. Locals grew up hearing stories about strange disappearances going back generations, but the sheriff didn't want campfire tales confusing a real investigation. Still, he couldn't ignore the part of him that felt it too. Something was off. Searchers checked every log, every hollowed tree, every boulder. They called Liam's name until their voices cracked, and just as hope started slipping again, a deputy radioed in. A shoe. A small one. It was found near the old fire road, a place way too far for Liam to reach alone. But even more troubling, it was clean, barely a scratch, as if someone had placed it there. The sheriff picked it up himself. His hands trembled just a little. He inspected the trees around them, half expecting to find more clues, but there was nothing else, just that one shoe resting where it shouldn't have been. They checked the ground around it for tracks. Nothing. No prints, no drag marks, no signs of struggle. A deputy muttered, "Kids can't fly," and earned a sharp look from the sheriff, but the words stuck with everyone. As the second night approached, the temperature dropped again. The mountains pulled the heat out of the air fast, and the woods felt like they swallowed light instead of reflecting it. Search teams pressed on with flashlights and thermal cameras, but the darkness seemed thicker than the night before. Around midnight, a volunteer swore he heard something, a faint tapping, rhythmic and strange, like someone lightly knocking on wood deep inside the forest. When he tried to follow it, the sound stopped. When he called for backup, nothing answered but the wind. He later admitted it didn't sound human, but he couldn't describe it. Just past 2 a.m., another searcher reported seeing a shadow move between the trees. Tall, too tall. He chalked it up to exhaustion, but he didn't go back in the woods after that. By sunrise, morale was low. The search had grown massive. Multiple agencies were involved now. Everyone agreed on one thing. Liam couldn't have survived the cold without shelter, food, or heat. And then, on the morning of day 3, 48 hours after he vanished, the call came in. A man living on the far side of the mountain had heard something outside his storage shed. A thumping, a soft cry. He assumed it was an injured animal. Instead, it was a boy. When the deputies arrived, the man led them to the back of the shed, his voice shaking as he explained he had checked the same spot the night before. It had been empty. The door was locked. But that morning, when he unlocked it to grab tools, he found a little boy curled in the corner, thin, dirty, shivering, but alive. When the deputies stepped inside, Liam didn't move at first. He just stared at them, wide-eyed, as if he wasn't sure whether they were real. His clothes were torn, his hair full of pine needles, his hands scraped, but he wasn't injured the way a child lost in the wilderness should have been. His skin wasn't frostbitten, his lips weren't cracked, he wasn't dehydrated. He looked protected. One of the deputies knelt beside him and asked the most logical question. "Buddy, how did you get here?" And Liam whispered something so quietly the deputy thought he'd misheard. "They carried me back." The deputy swallowed. "Who carried you?" Liam looked toward the open door of the shed, into the forest beyond, and answered in a trembling voice, "The tall ones." The deputy felt the hair on his arms rise. "Tall people? You mean adults?" Liam shook his head slowly. "They weren't people." The deputy didn't ask anything else. He simply wrapped Liam in a blanket, carried him out of the shed, and radioed for immediate evacuation. None of them realized yet this was only the beginning, and that what Liam said next would spread beyond the search teams, beyond the town, beyond the country, because whatever he saw in those woods, it shocked the whole world. The hospital room was warm, bright, and as welcoming as a place like that could be, but Liam sat on the bed like he didn't belong there. His small hands stayed balled into fists, and his shoulders were stiff, like he was bracing for something none of the adults could see.
His parents rushed in the moment the nurses cleared them. His mother nearly collapsed onto the bed, pulling him into her arms, crying so hard she couldn't speak. His father held his head against her shoulder, whispering how proud he was, how brave Liam must have been, how everything was going to be okay now. But Liam didn't cling back. He didn't cry. He didn't even look relieved. He just stared past them toward the window, toward the dark line of trees in the distance. The sheriff arrived a few minutes later, notebook in hand, ready to get answers. Not to interrogate. Nobody in their right mind questions an 8-year-old like a suspect, but they needed something to help make sense of this. They had nothing else to go on. He started simple, easing into it. "Hey, buddy," he said with a soft tone, "can you tell me where you were?" Liam didn't look at him. He didn't look at anyone. "I don't know." The sheriff exchanged a quiet glance with the doctor. That was expected. Trauma could scramble a child's memory, but then Liam added something. "I wasn't supposed to see it." His mother's hand tightened on his. "See what, sweetheart?" Liam's eyes flicked toward the trees again. "The place they took me to." That sentence froze everyone. The sheriff eased closer. "Who took you?" This time, Liam did look at him, slowly. His eyes were wide, not with fear exactly, but something heavier, something older than 8-year-olds should have ever felt. "The tall ones." His mother frowned. "Do you mean people, like grown-ups?" Liam shook his head. "No, they're not like us." The room went still. Even the machines seemed quieter. The doctor stepped in, trying to bring things back to something grounded. "Liam, when you say tall ones, are you talking about animals? Maybe elk? A big deer?" Another small head shake. "They walk." His father tried keeping his voice steady. "Okay, so someone found you? Someone helped you?" Liam thought about it, then answered, "They don't help, they watch." The sheriff straightened at that. "Why did they take you?" he asked gently. Liam pressed his lips together, like the memory tasted bad. They wanted to see me, but they said I was wrong." His mother blinked. "Wrong? What does that mean?" Liam didn't answer. He rubbed his arm over and over, a nervous loop he'd never done before. The sheriff asked another question. "Were you inside a house, a cabin, something like that?" That was when Liam finally turned away from the window. His voice was thin, barely above a whisper. "I saw a house, but it wasn't a house." His mother touched his cheek. "What did it look like, baby?" Liam shook his head again, this time more frantic. "You can't look at it too long. It moves." A chill ran through the room. The sheriff tried keeping his voice calm, though his heart was pounding. "And the shed, how did you get there?" That was the moment Liam's jaw tightened, like he was remembering something he didn't want to say. "They put me back." His father asked the question no one else dared to. "Why?" Liam stared down at the blanket, twisting a corner of the fabric between his fingers. "They don't like small ones. They don't like when we talk. They thought I was wrong, so they left me in the dark house. And then I heard them say I had to go back." The sheriff swallowed hard. "Did they speak to you with their voices?" A long pause. "No, not with voices." His mother hugged him again, shaking. "Sweetheart, you were probably scared. Maybe your mind was playing tricks." But Liam cut him off with a quiet, shaking whisper. "They don't have faces." The room froze. The doctor immediately noted signs of trauma. Maybe hallucination, maybe confusion from hypothermia or stress. He gently suggested taking a break, letting Liam rest. Nobody argued, but nobody in that room believed they'd just heard a child's imagination. Not with the way Liam said it, not with the way he kept glancing toward the trees as if something out there might be listening. Before the sheriff left, he asked one last question, the simplest one. "Liam, what exactly did you see? What happened out there?" Liam's breathing grew shallow. His eyes filled with fear that looked too real, too sharp to be imagined. And he whispered, "They were waiting for me."
That sentence was enough to make the sheriff close his notebook and step into the hallway, his face pale. Because no matter what explanation he tried to force into his mind, every one of them fell apart. There was no way for an 8-year-old boy to survive the wilderness for 2 days without injuries. No way for him to appear in a locked shed that had been empty the night before. No way for his trail to simply end at a creek. And absolutely no way any child should say the things Liam had just said. Something had happened in those woods. Something that made no sense. Something that left Liam alive, but changed. And soon, the world would hear the rest. 3 days after Liam came home, the woods behind the house went quiet. No birds at dawn. No wind in the pines. Even the dogs in the neighborhood stopped barking at night, like they sensed something they didn't want to name. Liam barely slept. He kept waking up to check the windows, making sure the curtains were closed tight. His parents tried keeping life normal, schoolwork, warm meals, soft reassurances, but nothing seemed to convince him that whatever took him wasn't finished. On the last night, just after midnight, the motion light in the backyard flicked on. Liam was the first one awake. He stood at the window, trembling, staring out at the tree line. His parents rushed in, flipping on the lamp, asking him what he saw. He didn't answer. He only pointed. Out by the edge of the woods, something tall shifted between the trees. Not walking, not running, just standing, like it was making sure he knew it was there. His father grabbed a flashlight. The sheriff, who had been driving by the property every night, was at the door within minutes. They searched the yard, the shed, the tree line. Nothing showed up. No prints, no broken branches. The light stayed on, though, like something had moved through its path. Liam wouldn't go back to sleep until morning. And by sunrise, whatever had been out there was gone. The sheriff eventually closed the case with a line nobody believed. Found safe, cause unknown. The official story stayed simple. A missing kid wandered home. End of file. But some nights, especially in the cold months, people near those woods say they see a flicker of movement between the pines. Something too tall, something too still, something watching. And every once in a while, the old shed door swings open on its own. Just an inch, like someone is checking if the small one came back.